Aaron Yeager.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Anime Club After Dark, the podcast that delves into all things anime, manga, and otaku culture related. I'm your host, Sho, and joining me tonight, we have Alex Senpai.
Help! Help! I'm being made to do this against my will.
You will do it and you will like it. And also, Nitai, the poser extraordinaire.
Participate go! I can't breathe for the first time.
Copyright strike.
Fucking hey, Alex, you said you would go with it.
I don't know the rest of the lyrics.
God damn it.
Oh my god, you're so horrible.
It's just two sentences. That's all you needed.
Today, we will be spilling the tea on Titan, talking about episodes 1 to 13 of the first season of Attack on Titan. It's a very old show, but we will try.
That was 2013. I was 23
old?
years old.
Listen, I was only born 5 years ago, so this was before I was born. This is like ancient history.
Holy shit, since when 5 years old can talk so much?
I'm a child prodigy, what can I say? So, since we have a lot to talk about, we'll get right into it with the whole premise / setting of the show.
Well, before you do that, I think we actually do need to point out really quickly that this is a rewatch for all of us here.
Let's talk about our credentials real quick.
Yes, some of us watched this further along than others. Like, I watched it back in 2013 when it originally came out. I don't know when the rest of you watched it originally.
I watched it I think 2014. That's when I first picked it up. I finished the entire first season, waited for season 2, and ever since I just watched the anime, and that's it. I haven't read the manga.
I've watched all the seasons while they were airing, as well as read the manga.
Yeah.
But I will not come from a point of view of having known all that. I'm just going to talk about
we're
episodes 1 to 13 right now.
As we go through this, and this is going to be a series where we're going to cover, I think, everything up until the end of season 3.
Leading up to the final season next
we're not
year,
gonna, we're not gonna talk about this as if we know what's gonna happen down the road. So, something to keep in mind. Also, I think this is gonna be the first episode that goes out in 2020. So, Happy New Year, everybody!
Ooh.
Yes.
Correct.
As you segue away from that completely.
Yes. So back to the actual show. So the basic premise of the show revolves around the existence of some sort of creature called a Titan. And I'm just curious what you guys thought about the introduction of these things.
Alex?
It was a grim reminder. I mean, what?
Shut
It was a grim reminder that there are better shows out there.
So you just didn't give a fuck. Okay.
Not
what
really.
do you think? Did you have any opinion, Nitai?
Yeah, I like the design. It's freaky. It's fucking weird, but I love it. It's definitely leaves an impact and impression.
Now, when you say that, because I'm assuming since we are talking about the actual introduction, when you say you like the design, are you saying you like the design of the Colossal Titan or the Titans in general?
So, all of them, but for different reasons. The Colossal Titan just looks fucking dope, and I mean, that whole animation sequence looks awesome. I love how detailed it is, like the steam that comes out of it and whatever. But when it comes to like the other quote-unquote regular Titans, they just... like, people talked about it before, but their facial expressions and just how they look is so eerie and so, to some extent, comical. It just so
to some extent comical, to most of the extent comical.
And that's okay. I think that's what, like, sort of gives it this just jarring sort of impression, and you just don't know what to think about it. It works. It really works for some reason.
I like one thing I do like is the fact that they even like do some kind of a meta-analysis of the Titans, because in the show, I think it's Levi that points this out in this series of episodes, how they always have the weirdest expressions.
I think
While he's killing one, I'm thinking that's kind of meta.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was first watching the show, I thought they were very creepy, and now when I'm rewatching it, I'm like, this is kind of hilarious and very... I found it more funny than I did when I originally watched it. Maybe because I was more caught up in the tension of the show to really find it funny.
But it's still
And maybe
disturbing
that's
to some extent.
maybe that's why it is definitely still disturbing. But maybe that's why you find it funny, Alex, because you're not caught up in the tension of the show
No,
at
at
all.
all.
I mean,
assume.
maybe it's because it actually gave me something to pay attention to that wasn't mind-numbingly dull. And actually it genuinely makes me like some of the expressions that
Now
they do.
that
have-
is some hot tea you're sipping right there.
Some of the expressions do genuinely make me laugh out loud sometimes about how ridiculous they look and how unthreatening they look. Like some of them look like they're permanently laughing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why it's so fucking creepy and weird.
It doesn't seem creepy to me. It just seems laughable.
Like, sure, it's like it's good meme material, but we'll get to it later.
Oh,
but
it's
there are
great
some
meme material. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, but like there are some like moments when you have like true horror in the humans who are like facing these titans. It just, I don't know, it just makes the whole thing more bizarre and strange and disturbing.
I think it was a really smart move to have that scene where Hans is going up against the Smiling Titan
Yes.
in the first episode, where we see the Smiling Titan and they animated it in such a way that it turned like the stupid expression into something truly terrifying. And that was a really good way to show why these strange creatures are supposed to be like completely like spine-chillingly disgusting.
Yeah.
And I really did like that scene.
To be fair, that's usually what my food probably sees when I eat too. So
Ooh,
God damn it.
I feel so bad for your food.
it's already dead.
And
Don't
I also-
worry.
Oh my. I would hope so. And I also think the idea of Titans in the way that the show has portrayed them is pretty creative and pretty like, I feel like it's something that I haven't seen before, where these like large deformed human-like creatures. When I first watched it, it felt fresh to me. It didn't feel like cliche. I'm
When
like,
you-
okay, this is new. This is interesting.
Yeah,
you
it's
say
a very
unique-
it's a very cool take on zombies to some extent.
I guess.
To some
Yes,
extent.
in a way, they kind of are zombies.
Yeah,
I
but it's
guess.
like in terms of the design and how they function, it's a really
And their lack of
refreshing-
an overall intelligence is very zombie-like as well. Like
Yeah.
they have a singular goal to feed. Now, when you mention that it's unique, do you mean unique to anime or unique in general?
in
So
general.
it's something, when I see it, I don't think, oh no, not this again. I think, interesting. I'm interested.
Because I mean,
Yeah, 'cause-
I look at a lot of mythologies throughout the world that have stories about giant creatures.
Right.
Some of
Yes,
them
but
are
not
human
in
in
the way,
appearance.
but not in the way that Attack on Titan has portrayed them. They're like giant gnomes or giant deformed people. It feels different to me. It's more particularly their stupid expressions. They're like derp faces.
So,
Yeah.
so you're saying more so the combination of things that
Yes,
is
the
a titan, not
well,
necessarily the fact that
obviously
it's a giant human-like creature.
Yeah.
Like a titan is not, in the word titan, a titan is not an interesting thing, but these things that are called titans that we see in Attack on Titan are interesting because they're creatures that I haven't like
Well,
heard
and
of.
what they're actually named after, titans. Like the titans in actual Greek mythology were giant human-like demigods.
Right.
But they have their own distinct design, which I feel was fresh to me. So going more into like the idea of the Titans and the idea of the premise of the show, we are going to stumble along a lot of plot holes and inconsistencies.
You don't
which
say.
I'm sure you're very glad to hear me admit, Alex.
I didn't think you would ever say there's anything wrong with Attack on Titan.
There isn't. So
Wait.
shut the fuck up.
Which plot holes do you mean? I'm seriously
So-
asking.
Okay. I have this written down that the Titans lack sex organs. Their means of reproduction is unknown.
It's magic.
So how did they reproduce?
Magic.
We don't know.
Magic.
There's a lot of things in Attack on Titan we have to take for face value. and we don't know.
Well, a good one is something else you have written down here. The fact that they appeared 107 years ago. That's not that long ago if you think about it. Like 100.
No, it's not.
I mean, if you go back 107 years for us, you're still in the 20th century. So, I mean, there's people alive that are 107 years old.
Now, that brings me to a question. What time period is this set in? Number one.
Is it even set on Earth?
And yes, number two is it set on Earth?
Which is interesting because, like,
we don't know.
Yeah, because you have a lot of ethnic groups that, like, most of the people there of humanity are sort of European, but then you have people like Mikasa's family, which are half Oriental or something like that. They're
oh my
pretty
God,
much,
he
like,
said Oriental.
East. God damn it.
I'm just ignoring that. So that is true. The characters actually explicitly did say that Mikasa was Asian.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that this is set in an Earth that we can recognize.
Really
it could be a modified Earth that like is totally a fantasy setting.
Well, and
we don't know if this is like real life Earth.
There's something in the title of the first episode. It's I can't remember the name of the
To you,
title.
2,000 years in the future.
Yeah, to you, 2,000 years in the future. So is that 2,000 years in our future? Because if it's 2,000 years in our future, it's possible that this could be taking place on another planet.
Honestly, it's been
a
shit.
I see what you're saying.
Honestly, it's been shit. It's been a while ever since I watched that title for the first time. I still have no clue what it means. I'm not gonna lie.
But you see how it could be that way. Like it could be 2,000 years in the future. I mean, it could like humanity could have gotten onto a spaceship and found this planet, and it has these giant fucking creatures on it. Who knows?
It could. We honestly don't know a lot of things.
And you're right. You're asked to take a lot of stuff you're told at face value and not question it.
I think.
But to some extent. Keep going.
I was just gonna say that a very recurring idea, a theme in Attack on Titan is ignorance. A lot of the characters are ignorant of the Titans, and that is a central problem that the characters are constantly facing.
Yeah.
And as viewers, we share this ignorance. Whether that is a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. But we don't know a lot.
It's also interesting.
We are asked a lot of it.
It's also
us as viewers.
It's also interesting that some characters actually seem to almost revel in their own ignorance. Like they don't question anything that's happening around them. And like, I'm thinking to myself, I'm trying to put myself in their situation. I'm thinking, I would probably question some of the stuff that's going on around you, dude.
But you sort of do have, like, I mean, there are multiple scenes where you see both Eren and Armin talk about wanting to know more about the outside world because they don't know almost anything about what's going on outside of the walls, right?
Yeah. And it's also explicitly stated that the people that do go outside the walls do actually kind of scout and pay attention to Titans because they want to learn about them. They not only how to maybe kill them more easily, but also to see if there's anything that can be done to like communicate with them or get them to stop, appease them in some way. And you think that after 107 years, they would have figured out something. They would have figured out something about their behavior that could give them some kind of edge.
Yeah, but we do see that, like, whenever they do send, like, some type of, like, search parties outside the walls, they sort of mostly die.
Well, they technically have figured out things. They figured out the nape of the neck fatal point. They've figured out, like, equipment to go kill it, the ODM gear. They figured out a few things, but I know what you're saying. We were talking about people who don't want to, like, see outside the walls and people who are just like happy staying in the walls, which brings me to another inconsistency or plot hole or just what the fuck aspect of the show that I'd like to bring up, that a lot of the characters do not act like you would expect people to act in an end of world apocalyptic, this is your last fucking bastion of hope, this little wall place you have. They don't act like that at all. They're like completely satisfied with just living on the land and like having class structures and looking down on other people.
I mean, can you blame like the simple folk that don't really mind it because they have like, at least when the series starts, they say, yeah, like the last 100 years have been peaceful. It's like, well, can you blame like most of them.
Okay, they've been peaceful while you're in an enclosed area and the Titans are scratching at the walls.
Obviously.
Just 10 meters outside.
Here's the thing, though. We don't know much about, like, because, they do mention that there is a king and there is a government. We get to see almost none of that. So
there's a military, obviously.
Yeah. We get to see mostly, like, small characters who, at least for now, are kind of, like, insignificant in the, let's say, bigger picture. But we don't know, like, what the government is actually planning, if they are planning anything. I mean, we don't know.
For me personally, I find it hard to believe all the internal struggles when you're considering you're facing an external threat, which is actually physically, verbally said by Pixis. And even if he says it, I still don't believe how these characters are acting.
You forget that happens when, like, the wall is breached for the second time in, like, a few years. That's different from, like, episode 1, when everyone's like, yeah, it's been 100 years of peace.
No, even in episode 1, like, there's a distinction between, the high class and the low class, the people who have and the people who are not, the people who are in the inner walls and the people who are in the outer walls. Like, this sort of internal clashing to me makes no sense when you're in a life or death situation, which I consider this a life or death situation even before the wall was breached.
Yeah, but that's the whole point of, like, criticizing classes. It's portraying both classes with different viewpoints. That's the whole point.
I just don't find it. I don't find it realistic that a class system would sprawl up considering the situation that they're in.
I definitely agree. It's not the most realistic thing. It's not something you necessarily expect to happen in an end of world or end of society or civilization kind of situation. But at the same time, it's not the first time something like this is depicted in fiction like this, where it's an apocalyptic sort of setting where you have this class struggle arising in the midst of a disaster that's trying to kill all of humanity.
Yeah,
a good example that I can think of off the top of my head is The Walking Dead. Obviously, the zombies are a huge problem, but yet there's still struggles between people and I guess you could call them like pseudo governments.
Yeah, I guess.
So it's not. I definitely agree that it's something that probably wouldn't happen in real life. Maybe it would. I don't know. I don't think I can't think of a situation where a human society has been pushed to this close to extinction, but it's not unique in fiction,
I guess. Well,
yes, I've completely ruined your segue yet again.
I mean, maybe.
So we talked about the premise, and there's the walls that are protecting humanity as a whole.
Can we talk about how German everything looks?
Yeah.
How, like, medieval European, like, all the design of the structures and stuff are. Even the walls. Even the walls themselves look very, like, walled cities circa Germany 1500.
Which can I say that, like, I really gotta say, I really miss that type of world and world building we see in anime, because, like, honestly, outside of Attack on Titan and FMA, I don't know, this type of architecture and
like visual world building.
Visual world, yeah. That's, I don't know, it's not something you see too often in anime. And at least with these two cases, both shows that I really love, so,
I will say it's remarkably consistent across Attack on Titan. Of course, it's all a civilization that's within a walled structure, so you assume that a lot of the architecture would be similar. But yeah, it certainly conveys this very European, very medieval sort of structure. I mean, that even goes down to a lot of characters' names. A lot of characters' names are very German, very European.
Yeah. Very true. Which,
again,
I
think that's one thing I think that Attack on Titan gets very right is in its world building is the idea of visual world building. And you mentioned it also. Fullmetal Alchemist is really, really good at that too.
Yep. Especially Brotherhood, that explores more of the world that surrounds it.
Yes.
Which is cool.
Interesting.
Not impressed.
I don't know why you would be impressed by European inspired.
because honestly, that it's like when it's done right, it's not something you see that often in anime.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I think that the visual aspect of the designs of the walls and the structures are really beautifully done. So I can appreciate that.
Yeah, and my point is that it's consistent from the architecture of the buildings to the way the roads are laid out, the way the wall looks, the weapons that they use are, I won't say they're necessarily medieval, but they have a medieval feel to them. And the fact that so many of the names of the surnames of characters are very Central European.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's relevant to the plot, but that is consistent. Also, I'm no historian, but yeah, I don't know if the weapons are like cannons
I don't
and
think
shotguns.
the ODM gear is something historically accurate.
Yeah, definitely not historically
I don't
accurate.
think
And
that's a thing.
I'd like to point out, I don't even think possible the way they actually portray it is working.
By the way,
Probably not.
I just oh god, this is one of my biggest problems with Attack on Titan though, is this fucking gear and the way it's portrayed is working. Number one, I don't think it can work the way it's portrayed to work without an electric motor. Number one. Number two, using this would probably break more backs than it would actually be useful in climbing walls. Well, hold on. I got one more. And the fact that they have straps on the outside of their pants and their shirts and everything would be a terrible idea if you're flying through trees where a branch could catch on it and break your neck.
Okay, A, it's animation. Just suspension of disbelief. I don't know what to tell you. Just, A. B, whatever. It's still a freaking cool idea and how it's utilized. And they do, like, put the work to sort of explain how it works with the gas system and how you control it, which is pretty cool. And C, speaking of trees, well, so far, we'll get there.
So far, we'll get there. I don't know. It's just
it's such a cool tool.
I'm not
How
saying
can you say that?
I'm not saying it's not a cool idea, and that actually the way it looks in with the animation is not necessarily bad. I'm just saying it takes me completely out of it because I cannot suspend my disbelief that much. I feel like if you actually tried to implement this IRL, it would break people's backs in half.
That can't breathe, who eat tiny people. You have a problem.
Yes.
Believing a fucking gear that lets you zip around like Spider-Man.
Yes, I do.
Okay, dude.
I fucking do. And I'm gonna sit here and tell you about it. Fuck you.
I will say I think that the ODM gear idea was pretty fresh. Like Spider-Man with swords, I will take it. Plus,
so
it's animated
fucking cool,
beautifully.
like how it connects with the blades and how it's
And I think they the author really invested into the details of the fighting style, including the ODM gear, because like there's like this one scene.
Really, everyone just spins.
There's
That's
this
not
one scene
true.
where like this guy shoots off. What is that thing called?
Like the zip line?
The tether?
Yeah, whatever. Shoots off the zip line, and then while he's being pulled along the zip line, the Titan just like pulls on the zip line itself, and then he slams into a wall. Like to me, like that attention to detail, That's do cool, appreciate. Yeah. So there are just some other small parts of the premise that I thought were very strange. In the first episode, we hear that the government has declared that interest in the outside is taboo, which
good luck
they
with that.
explain it. They do explain it like, we don't want you to go outside because then you're going to die. But at the same time, that's just stupidity. To me, that is, first of all, stupid. Second of all, suspicious.
But in a lot of fascist like societies, you need that sort of fear factor to impose on your citizens. So it makes sense to me.
But the thing is,
I don't believe how a fascism could spring up in this situation. Okay. But you are correct.
But I do want to point out that you're right that if you want to have a truly fascist government, you should have something you can hold over people to make them leery and fearful. However, that thing should not be something that's going to make them more curious than they were before.
Yeah, sure, but
also
that's why,
not
like, again, fairly easy to do that. It's like, oh, Titans, guess what? You die when you go outside. Done.
It should also not be something that will pose a threat to killing the actual fascist government itself. So,
That's how fascism
really-
works, though. Like, you build fear on something that will, like, disrupt your status quo or your, like, government or whatever.
Well, it doesn't even
I-
have, it doesn't have to be real. I mean, if you're talking like an actual fascist
Yeah,
government,
it doesn't have to be
the threat
real.
itself doesn't have to be real.
It's just
if
the
I were
idea
them,
of the threat.
if
Yeah.
I were them, what I would tell people is, if you go outside, I don't know, if you if you go outside, that's where the real Titans live.
Okay. I'm just saying that, like, this is not a sustainable government. Like, if you keep ignoring the things outside, they're going to come in and kill the king and all of his subjects. So it's not in the king's best interest to not generate curiosity in the outside.
Also,
to me, that makes no sense.
Also, if this was supposed to be a fascist government, I think you'd want people to be curious because you'd want them to go outside because you'd want them to join the fucking military.
Also, why does the fascist king want to keep his throne by sacrificing, like, the ability to fight back against the Titans? Because that sort of logic is just going to get everyone killed, including yourself, king. It just makes no sense. To me, it makes no sense.
We don't know yet because we're only in the beginning of the show.
I'm just saying, they already said it in the beginning of the show, and it already doesn't make sense. A lot of things don't make sense in Attack on Titan.
But I definitely agree that idea.
Are you
of
talking about that part where they're sending like a shit ton of people just to die?
Yes, that was stupid.
Yeah, that's because they don't have enough like food.
No,
for
that
all
makes
of the
sense.
refugees.
That makes sense. I agree with that.
Yeah, that's also a great way to foment discontent among your people.
I'm not saying that's like right. I'm saying the logic why they did it is fucked up, and that sort of is consistent in the story. That's not a plot hole.
Anyway,
I wouldn't consider that a plot hole. That's not what I'm talking about.
the point I think you're talking about is the government declaring interest in something taboo is only going to spark more people's interest in it. And that's such a stupid rule to make.
No, I'm saying that declaring it taboo is a self-destructive thing.
Yes.
That is going to get you, as the king, killed. So it's not in your interest to do that.
Yeah, but that's
I don't
like
understand why you would do that.
almost every story ever with a taboo. That's the point.
Not necessarily, no.
Yeah.
The taboo isn't something like if country X is at war with country Y, country X wouldn't have interest in country Y as a taboo because then you can't even fight country Y. What would the point be? Then the country Y is going to invade and kill country X.
You're not. They're telling people not to go explore the outside world. They're not telling them don't join the military. That's like the whole reason.
If you say so.
Like the whole job of the Survey Corps is to explore and find footholds outside of the walls. That's their job.
Interpreted that as the government doesn't approve of the Survey Corps.
No, what are you talking about?
That's what I interpreted as.
I don't. I mean,
But that's
what
not
would be
true.
stopping the government from getting rid of it?
What are you talking about? Yeah, if the Survey Corps would have been disbanded long ago. What are you talking about?
If that's true, and the government itself has no actual power to get rid of its military arm or change it if something happens, that is the worst run government of all time.
I think you just found yourself a plot hole just because you made it up. I don't know, dude. They never mentioned that the government has anything against the Survey Corps.
But they didn't mention that it did. Anyway, we can agree to disagree. So,
but no, that's what the fucking story says.
Well, another thing that's kind of along the same lines is we find out that the people who are the most talented when they go through training don't actually end up getting assigned to the front lines.
No,
again,
they go to the
kind of
military
silly.
Police.
You're going to put your most talented and most capable soldiers as far away from the action as possible?
No. So what they say is that if you end up in the top 10, you get to decide where you want to go. A lot of people that get to the top 10 want to go to the military police because that's the safest place. Not because they make them go there.
Yeah,
okay,
but
that's the current system of things.
Yeah,
the government enabled the idea that if you're good, you can go to wherever you want, and the only way to get to military police is to get to top 10.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's
So,
right. It's trying
not
to
a
show
good
how
si-
dumb it
it's-
is.
Yeah, it's not a good system.
Yeah, it's not portraying as a good system. They like Aaron and I forget who else is they're like mocking people for going to the military police. That's the whole idea, to show the
Okay.
hypocrisy of like some
What
people who join
what
the
I'm
military
saying
just
is
to
they-
go to the military police.
if they don't explain why the government is doing this, that is a stupid and bad writing.
Is it though?
I
You
agree.
You explain like this. Hey, you get to the top 10, you decide where you want to go. Makes sense, just like in every
That's
military
bad.
ever.
That's bad
No,
government.
No,
say what you
it's-
will, but
it's
that's how the
it's-
military works.
It's one of two things in my mind. It's either bad writing or an incredibly incompetent government.
It's the latter probably, but also that's how the military works. I know because I serve in the military, and yes, when you like score in better than others, and when you like are just a good soldier as a whole, they let you decide, at least to some extent, where you want to go. Sorry, but that's just how it works.
I think yes,
that's not bad writing.
I think yes, generally, but I think if you were in the middle of a war and you were getting trained, you wouldn't have a choice where you were getting sent.
I don't know, because thankfully I'm not in the war, but as far as like the military in peacetime, that's how it works, which for them is sort of that.
No, the
Yes.
training arc occurred after the Titans invaded.
Yeah, a few years after the Titans invaded. At that time, though, it's been a few years since they first invaded, and right now they think they're somewhat safe.
Well, I would even consider the time before the Titans invaded as a national crisis time.
Don't you think you're
So-
nitpicking, though?
It may
That's
be a
hard.
bit nitpicky,
There's-
but
there's-
That's
just
a
so
bit nitpicky,
many-
especially something that, again,
If you take
is
all the
totally,
small,
that's totally
if you take
legit.
all, if
Keep
you
going.
take all the small things that don't make sense in Attack on Titan, they snowball very quickly.
Okay, I'm gonna say it right now. I mean, we said we won't mention later parts, but some of the parts that like don't make sense, they do later on, and
That's what I'm
A.
saying.
Wait.
If-
That's A.
if-
and B.
if-
B. This whole like part of like the elite soldiers deciding where they want to go makes sense because that's how it works.
I don't think that makes sense, but
No, I
Sure.
mean, I'm saying it makes sense. That's how it's written because that's how it is in real life. You know.
I
That's
don't
all
know.
there is to it.
I-
I think we're
I
dwelling
feel
too
like-
much on a very
I
minute
feel like yes.
detail.
I feel like yes, Natai, you're very.
it's not. It's actually not minute because the characters themselves are angry about this fact.
Yeah. Because that's how it is, and they're mocking how hypocritical people are, like that they do it. That's the point they're trying to make when they talk about when they're raising the point.
So they recognize that it's a bad idea. So that means
They
that
recognize
it is a bad
that,
idea.
They recognize that it lets people just go and fuck off to the military police. Yes, they're trying to show that.
They recognize that it's very easy for people to game the system.
Yeah.
So you think this is
I
more
don't know
of a
if easy
criticism?
because it's only 10 people out there, how many people that drafted that day, but you know.
Well, it's way more easy to know that up front and try to do your best than it is to just get randomly assigned to the interior.
Do they know that up
Mm-hmm.
front though? They only knew that at the end of the training, once they declared who are the top 10.
Listen, it's still a bad system, whether they knew or not.
No, sure. I'm just trying to say that I don't think it's bad writing because it totally makes sense. That's how it works. You do good, you decide where you want to go.
Again, you're probably definitely right about how it actually works in the real military. I just don't necessarily think it's always going to be the best idea, and I'm pretty sure that's not how it
Sure,
works.
but
in
calling it
wartime.
bad writing, I think, is taking it like to a bit of an extreme because it's not.
Anyway,
If you say so. So that is basically our thoughts on the premise. Very diverse thoughts.
30 minutes into the podcast.
I thought it would be interesting to talk about some of the scenes that stood out to us in these first 13 episodes. I don't know if this stood out to you guys, probably not, but the show started like in episode 1. The first scene
very good.
is
You can
of
count.
is of Aaron dreaming of the invasion of Wall Maria, yes, that has not yet happened. And then he wakes up crying.
And they stress it so much out that he's crying. God,
Yeah,
I forgot how much they talk about his crying.
Yeah.
It's very...
Oh my God! A man cried. We all have to stop and point and laugh at him now.
So again, to me, this is either bad writing because you're incorporating a like a teaser of what's gonna happen, but you're incorporating it literally into the story where it's literally affecting the characters. So that's like so like you're inconsistent. It's why are you doing that? Either it's bad writing or there's something like time travel or some sort of simulation is happening and Aaron has been reset from a previous simulation.
I feel
and
this
he's
was like
being
the 10th time this podcast where you incorporated simulation to any type of show. Devilman Crybaby show.
I don't even.
Not.
But that is a very honestly, that is another part of Attack on Titan that is unexplained, and this will keep going. But that scene I found very strange. Very strange.
I agree. I never even really considered until somewhat recently when I think it may have been you, but maybe it was someone else pointed out to me that there hasn't been any kind of evidence to suggest that this isn't some kind of a simulation that they're in. So if he was reset or if he's like a new addition to the simulation, that would be an interesting way to go about it.
It does go along with the themes of ignorance if you have amnesia.
I guess. Oh, maybe this is like version 1.0 of The Matrix.
Exactly. You're not happy. Well, some other scenes, mostly in episode 1. I mean, okay, episode 1 of this show was a very strong episode. I thought it was super strong.
He says right after coming off of saying the first scene is bad writing.
I will still say that. And I still, after rewatching it, I think it's a very strong episode. You have some really high emotional points. You get like a full mini arc of what happens. The smiling Titan eating Aaron's mom. Super heartbreaking moments. Yeah, love the way they animated the expressions of the mom and Aaron and crying and everything. It was beautifully done. I thought it was really, really pulling on those heartstrings.
And also like just solid world building all around. Like you get to see like the streets and like the people who inhabit them and different people and whatnot. And it's just super solid all around.
Yes, I thought it was a good way to introduce the show, except for that first scene. In episode 2...
Episode 2 is still part of that intro.
Yeah, it's still part of like the introductory arc.
There's just this strange little recollection that Aaron has of his father injecting him with a needle. Which again happens when he's asleep. Why are all these strange things happening when he's asleep?
I don't know. It very much reeks of child molestation, if you ask me.
Oh my god! Honestly, you're not wrong. That does actually.
It does. It seems like what's the first thing you remember when you wake up after you've been molested? I was fucking drugged. What the fuck?
That is true. I see what you're saying. So
fan theory. Aaron is just creating all this in his head as a way to suppress his rape memories.
Oh my god, that would make sense.
Theory time. It's a new season of The Office. Done.
But that's just a theory.
God damn it.
So this whole idea, which is expanded on in episode 9, where Aaron apparently actually remembers more about what happened during this episode where his father abducts him. This idea of his father hiding something in a basement, then running away, and like, where is he right now? I don't know where he is. He is in this confined area of the walls. Like, where could he have gone?
Okay.
And then he injects Aaron with the power to transform into a Titan.
Okay, so I had
so many problems.
Well, there's several questions that arise from this. Number one, where was he going when he left immediately before the colossal Titan attacked?
Well, he did say he was going to see a patient in the inner walls.
He says that, but was he
but we
really?
don't know if that's true. That's very convenient, extremely convenient.
It is
and it is also
extremely
suspicious.
convenient that he left right before the Colossal Titan attacked. It's also it happens so soon after he leaves that one wonders why he didn't run home, because surely he had to know that something was up. Also, the idea I want to say that you kind of find this out as the first 13 episodes go along, but Aaron's father is a fucking moron. Like, why would you... He tells Aaron that there's something really important that could potentially, like, solve the secrets of the Titans hidden away in his basement. Why, if you actually had this knowledge, would you hide it away from people who could actually maybe use it and do something constructive with it?
We still don't know. That's why it's mystery.
But it's a really cheap-ass mystery. That's my problem.
You don't know that. You don't have enough information. That's the whole point.
I can't imagine any kind of payoff being worth it. What kind of payoff would there be to hide this knowledge away, to like cover for the fact that thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people have died not knowing this information?
So, to be clear, everything that I mentioned is a plot hole. I am willing to accept an explanation for it if there is one. If there isn't, then I'm not happy.
Well,
also,
yeah,
I completely agree with you, Alex, that in these first few episodes, we are bombarded with unexplained information that accumulates so quickly that you lose your patience. I agree with you there.
Yeah, like if
That's
all you had to
point of being a mystery.
But be honest, if all you had to go on was what you've seen of Aaron's father so far, would you not agree he's a fucking moron?
As someone who, at the time didn't know what the fuck was going on, I was like, okay, I wonder what's up with that. I didn't make any judgment call on that because I don't know. I wanted to know. That's why I kept watching.
So, when I was first watching this, I was able to not care about the inconsistencies because there was so much hype action that I'm like, are they going to survive? Like, that's the basic question that I wanted answered. But now that I'm looking back on it, there's just so many things that are not adding up.
Breaking the illusion!
Oh, God. So then we have the training arc, which was very long.
Well, it was like an episode and
and a half. How is that long?
For a training arc? Considering all the other things that happened in the other episodes.
Bitch, there are training arcs in
long.
Naruto that are a full season long.
Yeah, you can't
Yes,
call
and
that
that's why
long,
Naruto
dude.
is bad.
Fuck you.
You can't call that a bad train arc. It just sort of.
Why would you spend an entire episode on I can't use my maneuver gear? So stupid.
Yeah, and all and the payoff for that is, it was just defective. You're
Well,
fine.
Wow, that was funny.
That was some fake. If that is what I mean by some fake ass drama. Are you kidding me? What a shitty payoff. Like, there's no grand finale of him overcoming his own inability to use it. It's like, nah, your gear's just broken. You're perfect because you got plot armor.
Now, the only good thing about the training arc, I will
With
say,
Sasha
is bae, but is that it sets up for the appearance of the Colossal Titan in episode 4 beautifully, because the training arc lulls you into a sense of safety, and then that's completely broken by the appearance of the Colossal Titan. And I think that particular scene where he appears during training while they're cleaning the walls is masterful. That's masterful plot writing because you don't expect it at all. When I was watching that while it aired, completely taken by surprise. I didn't see it coming at all, and I really love that part.
I wanted him to eat Aaron.
Eat his ass.
Yes, eat his ass.
So
it did nothing for me.
Oh, really?
Not really. I mean, I guess the visual composition of it was not bad. I won't say it was like horrendous, but it didn't do a whole lot for me.
That's unfortunate.
I would actually say that the music that you hear when that happens is far more impactful than the visuals, though. I attribute that almost entirely to Hiroyuki Sawano, though.
What speaking of Hiroyuki Sawano, the OST for this is
Fucking awesome.
so beautiful.
And as much as I may dislike Attack on Titan, I will give props to its OST every chance I get because it is really good.
It's hype, it's creepy, it's just everything. I love it.
Also,
Also,
uses a
awesome
lot.
songs.
It uses a lot of bass drums, and it's like, yes,
And awesome songs and vocals.
yes, that's
The
it.
vocals are really good too. So now we're getting into the Trost arc, which is a
The
very long
bulk
arc.
The
this
rest of the
story.
next
Like-
few episodes.
Isn't that like 6?
It's 9
long?
episodes.
9 episodes.
9. Jesus
It's
Christ.
basically the halfway through episode 4-ish through
Till
episode
episode
13.
Yeah.
So during that like later parts of the Trost arc, is definitely dragged out, I want to say.
Yes,
I think episode 13 had a 5-minute recap, including the OP.
yes,
And I was
What are you
like,
talking about?
it did.
girl,
Episode
it's 5
13.
minutes. It started at 5 minutes.
Yeah,
that's when it
I
started.
watched
new-
episode 13 today. What are you talking? I'll
I-
pull it up right
No,
now.
Pull it
no,
up now.
no, no. I'm serious. He's right.
Don't say
Like,
no. I'm watching it
I
right
don't
now.
think it may not be exactly 5 minutes, but it's close
like
enough to 5 minutes.
4:55.
Yeah, it's close enough that it makes no difference. But yeah, the first 5 minutes are the OP and like a 4.5 minute recap.
Girl. And not only that, like the last 3 or 4 episodes of the Trost, like really
Drag.
really slow. There wasn't a lot that happened in the episodes. There's a lot of long conversations. They could have paced that better.
I'll be honest, when I originally watched this back in 2013, I seriously considered dropping the show at episode 10 because of how just drawn out this arc was. They could have accomplished the exact same thing in this arc, I think, with 4 episodes. Maybe 5.
You remember?
It
Okay,
didn't
I'm
take
watching right
9.
now. You remember that about a minute and a half of the first 5 minutes of the episode is the OP itself.
Yes, but that still doesn't negate the fact that it's a 3.5 to 4
that
minute
leaves-
long
wait,
recap.
that means 2.5 minutes of recap. That's
The-
the
the-
only
Plus a
time
minute
you
and a
did
half
it.
of OP. You start at like 5 minutes.
No. I watch it right now. It's
When do
two
you
and a
start
half
the
minutes.
episode?
Wait, it's 2.5 minutes of recap and a minute and a half of the OP.
So when do you start the episode?
When does new stuff
What do you
start?
mean when? The moment I click on the episode.
When does new material start in episode 13?
Well, you figure
Four
that
and a half
out.
minutes into the episode.
4.5
4.5 minutes.
too long.
Basically 5. That's way too long.
Also,
That's
the
like-
fact that almost every single episode, I think after 5 begins with a recap. I'm like, bitch, shut up. Give me new
Every
stuff.
episode begins with the recap. What are you talking
They're like,
about?
bitch, shut the fuck up and give me new stuff.
I agree. It's way too repetitive.
Just
Honestly,
skip
honestly,
it. I don't-
this is not necessarily an Attack on Titan issue. This is an issue that
Yeah,
happens
that's
in anime
anime.
in general.
Yeah,
I mean,
what are you talking about?
I won't say that all anime does, especially all dramatic anime, but there are a lot that do. It is 100% condescending to your audience to have a recap at the beginning of every single episode. Don't do it.
know,
you-
I won't like
if
you.
if you're
Yeah,
gonna
but if
have
you're
a
watching
recap,
weekly,
if you're gonna have a recap, at least phrase it differently every time, or say different things.
Yeah.
Just not the same fucking thing again and again. But past the trivial bullshit that we're mad about, the actual
holy
plot.
fucking shit, this episode has been nitpicky as fuck, I need to say.
He's so salty.
No,
Actually,
it's
Thai
like-
sauce
I'm
fest.
very
no,
surprised.
because I'm not the biggest fan of Attack on Titan, but holy shit, that's nitpicking that's the least there are other things that make me boil about this show, but about this, that's what you have to say?
I
So
think
what makes you
we're
boil about this
Yeah,
show?
what
Ethan?
does make you boil about this show?
That comes
What gets
later
you
on.
hot under the collar?
That comes later on.
Oh. Okay. Well then, so the Trost arc, basically, one of the first scenes is when Aaron's squad sorties into the fight, and holy shit, honestly, that is one of the best scenes in anime for me. I
Yeah, it's so fucking
loved
good.
it. I
It's so
loved
good.
it. It was complete reversal of expectations. You have this basically 2-episode long training arc, getting hype, we're getting stronger, we're ready to fight the Titans, your first encounter with the Titans, your entire squad wiped out, you lost your leg, you're lying unconscious on the roof, and Armin is being eaten by a Titan. Literally, I love the writing there. Also, I am a bit of a sadist, so that is my personal...
a sadist
yes.
or a satist? A sadist just makes you sound really depressed.
I'm a Satanist. Thank you very much.
Whoa.
Like, say what you will about Attack on Titan, but it can, like, it builds up to these moments that come out of nowhere but feel so earned. It's amazing how it does it sometimes.
Yes. To me, that felt like a little bit of a criticism, or like, I guess a criticism. That's not the right word I'm looking for.
It's like a wake-up call for the heroes, sort of.
Well, I was thinking like a criticism of the shonen genre, because it was
gotcha.
so vastly different from what you would expect from this kind of
Did
story.
you just say a wake-up call for the protagonist? The Colossal Titan attacking twice wasn't enough?
Apparently not.
I'd say that showing up twice and busting up your fucking world would be a big thing.
Not for the protagonist, but sort of for the audience, with just like, oh yeah, shit, we don't fuck around, that sort of thing.
Listen, whether you're actually in the story or an audience member and you needed a third wake-up call that everything's going to shit, I don't know, man. I mean...
Let's be honest. Most of the people really got hooked on the show was the moment that Eren supposedly died.
See, and that's something else. That's another problem I have with this with Attack on Titan in general. Yeah, that would have been great if he'd stayed dead. If he'd stayed dead and someone else had become the main character, it would have been so much better, because then it would have meant there were actual stakes involved. Now that I see that Eren actually comes back from this, I don't think anyone's going to die at all, or at least stay dead.
A lot of named characters already died in the first few episodes.
I don't know that.
About. What do you mean you don't know that? They literally died.
For all I know, they could come back.
No.
Marco is dead. The husband died. What the fuck was his
Eren
name?
came back. I'm just saying anyone can come back then.
I don't think so. You didn't see a corpse of Eren.
Anyway, my point is that it actually decreased its value for me in the sense that I thought there were less stakes involved.
I also want to say, like, this is actually a wake-up call for the viewers as well, because a lot of anime, shonen, or anime in general, their first episode, parents die, huge tragedy. The rest of the episode, plot armor. The rest of the season, plot armor. For Attack on Titan, yeah, first episode, tragedy. But it's still tragedy. Everybody's still dying.
Not Eren.
Which leads to...
He has rape juice in his blood.
Another problem I have with the show is that this sort of... massive loss of life is just not sustainable. I don't know how they are going to defeat this like immortal, quasi-immortal enemy when they're taking so many losses. To me, it's just, I don't understand how they're gonna write their way out of this. It just doesn't. I'm very questioning of this situation.
What you're saying is you have a fear that the author is writing himself into a corner.
I definitely think so. Yes. But I'm open to be proven wrong.
I know. I got it. They're gonna develop nuclear weapons. That's how they're gonna beat them.
They don't even have automatic guns.
We'll develop DMT and we'll get the Titans to smoke it.
Get Joe Rogan.
So I think another important scene we might want to talk about is when Eren exits out of his Titan husk. Well, basically at that point it is confirmed that Eren is a Titan. But I don't know if you guys figured that out before. I mean, it was kind of obvious.
Well, I mean, yeah. If you didn't figure out we figured out what the rape juice was for.
I mean, to me, it felt very obvious just because of the glowing green eyes. Just a little. You could have calmed down on that that character design there. Didn't have to be that obvious. But that brings...
Why does he have pointed ears, though?
That is a good question.
That he's the only Titan that has pointed ears, and I'm thinking, well, is this like a trait of Titan-human hybrids?
Yes, that brings us to the question, or the realization that humans are Titans? Question mark? Which is a very, like, cliche trope that, you know, the enemy is just your own
The
race,
real enemy is
deformed.
man's cruelty towards man.
It's very cliche.
Walking Dead.
Oh, okay. But I mean, this brings up a lot of questions. Like, what are the Titans? Because the Titans can't all be humans because they're mostly male.
You
and
saw
also,
some female-looking Titans there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if they have no reproductive organs, and I'm gonna assume if they don't, they also don't have a reproductive system inside of them. Then is the nomenclature of male female even relevant at that point?
I think females have breasts, don't they?
I didn't see any with that.
No,
because there are no females. Anyway, are you saying that they're like females but they pretend to be men?
No, I'm just saying that at that point, if it's a creature that has no ability to reproduce, has no external sex organs, and has no reproductive system, does the idea of them being male or female even matter?
You make a valid point. The realization that Eren is a Titan because of some super juice just brings on way more questions and inconsistencies, because in some way it kind of makes sense that all Titans could be humans, and in some ways it doesn't make sense.
Also, I'd like to point out that, going back to what we mentioned earlier about Eren's father injecting him with that stuff, all right, we see him injecting him after he leaves, so they had to have met up at some point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So does he just carry this around at all times, thinking, well, eventually I'm going to have to give this to someone?
Another question that is not answered. A lot of problems.
I know, right? And something else I've wondered. So something else that we get told about the Titans is that they have an abnormally high body temperature, like super high. It's part of the reason that you see steam coming from them sometimes, is that their body temperature is so high. If that's true, then how the hell can people walk on their skin so easily? Wouldn't they think their feet were going to be hot?
I think if they meant internal body temperature,
it's only
not
when
external.
the organs evaporate. That's when the steam comes out.
What about the Colossal Titan, which you see steam coming out of him?
I wonder about that. It's almost like it's something we don't know.
Well, there's a lot of things we don't know. When are we getting answers, Nitai?
Yeah, and that is you seem to have all the fucking answers. Tell us.
What are the answers, Nitai?
I have an idea. Okay, I have an idea. I'm gonna go and look. Wait. No. I got it.
Hold on, let me look through volume 12 of the manga.
No. Let me. Where the fuck is this? Where is this Wikipedia page?
Oh my god.
Oh my lord.
No. It's fairly easy to find out. You put Attack on Titan in Wikipedia.
No,
and
never look up anything.
Of the text, mystery.
Not on Mal.
It's not even on Wikipedia. But anyway, you get
goes to Wikipedia for validation, gets rejected.
Oh my god. Nitai, you're killing me.
Okay. The point remains, the show, obviously, for some reason, doesn't show us all of the information.
The problem, Nitai, the problem is that when you keep introducing more and more and more and more mysteries, the onus is completely upon the writer to actually solve these mysteries in a cohesive way.
Yes, but it's up to the writer to solve it whenever he feels is appropriate for the story.
That's
how mysteries works.
You cannot keep dragging out a mystery forever and not expect people to ask
Guess
fucking
what?
questions.
Prepare for a big ass mystery to drag around for a while, dude.
So overall, I will agree that Attack on Titan is a mystery like franchise story. But in the first 13 episodes, it doesn't act like a mystery. It acts more like an action.
What?
No, well, I get what you're saying.
Mostly because the characters themselves are not engaging with these questions. They're not asking these questions. They're not investigating.
One of the first questions raised in the show, what the fuck is outside the walls?
They're not actively trying to find that out.
Yeah,
they're fighting for their lives. They're fighting for their lives. The plot is they're fighting for their lives for the entire 1 to 13. So it's not acting like a mystery right now because there is no investigation going on. There's no investigation going on.
Sure. The mystery is not it's like the main focus of the current arc, obviously. But you can't deny there are mystery undertones to the entire fucking story. Because
there's a lot
throughout the show, everyone's like, I have no clue what the fuck, how's that even working? Because they don't know shit. That's the whole point. They don't know anything about the Titans
that's the idea,
or
though.
the world.
That kind of goes back to the idea of these characters being very, very ignorant and acting very, very ignorant sometimes. Like, these mysteries...
But ignorant...
Those are two different uses of the term.
But I know.
Ignorant is implying that most of them do it on purpose. Most of them just know jack shit.
I know, but let me
That's the
finish my
point.
fucking sentence. I think a lot of these mysteries, and I use that very broadly, are being introduced to the audience, and then it's like, okay, you know about this, but the characters are just going to get to that later.
They explain every Sherlock Holmes story ever told. The reader doesn't know who the killer is until the end.
The killer is a Titan.
Yeah, probably.
Spoiler alert. So this show can turn into a mystery if it wants to. But the problem is that there's a lot of shows that are pure action, pure fantasy, pure adventure, and they do the same thing as Attack on Titan. They don't fully world build. They leave questions and they never answer them. And that is a problem that is very ordinary in writing, especially like of those genres, that you make a huge world and you don't explain everything and then it doesn't come together properly.
Okay, sure. But let's talk about...
That may be a problem here that I'm just pointing out that may be a problem that Attack on Titan is falling into.
Yes.
Alex is like, negative opinion on Attack on Titan. I agree.
It's like someone had a negative opinion about Attack on Titan. I agree with you.
I don't even have to listen. Just yes. +1. Retweets.
DMT.
So... I mean, I have a lot of other scenes written down here, but I don't really need to talk about anything else here.
Oh, I think we need to talk about the fact you wrote down Aaron operates Titan like piloting a giant robot. We definitely need to talk about that.
That's very anime.
It's very like, get in the robot, Aaron. Get in the fucking robot, Aaron, or Mikasa's gonna have to do it again.
Oh, I also wrote down, like, okay, it makes sense that the nape of the neck is the weak point of the Titan, which is, like, evidence towards all Titans are humans. But I mean, there's a lot of evidence against it as well.
But to that extent, then I guess, well, just cut the brain because it's just like a human, don't you think?
Nope, the human is... Do you cut the brain of a robot? No, you cut the cockpits.
No, you said we... Oh, sure, whatever.
Well, that kind of begs another question. You asked if Titans are humans and humans are Titans, and you kind of put out piloting like a giant robot. Are the Titans just glorified machines?
Oh, that could be true. Well, we see their insides when we blow them up with cannons. So
but I'm thinking.
Well, they could be like nano robots,
or they could be a biological cybernetic.
They could
machine.
be.
I'm thinking something sort of along the lines of the Cylons in Battlestar Galactica reboot from the early 2000s.
I remember talking to someone. I don't know if this was you, Alex, about how the whole idea of the Titans regenerating their limbs was unrealistic. I don't know.
I do. This is almost a year ago now. I think we talked about this.
So, I mean, me personally, I think that's pretty consistent, knowing that there's a lot of different species of animals that can regenerate limbs. So it's a logical leap that this sort of creature could exist. Yes, it's hyper quick, like way more faster than we see in real life, but it's consistent with what we know about biology.
I guess, yeah. I don't know. It just there's so many questions.
There are a lot of questions. I don't know if you guys have anything particular you want to bring up.
No.
He's like,
done.
No, because you're just gonna shit on it. God damn it.
No, it's not even that. I just don't.
Nitai is just a sad boy now.
I mean,
no, I'm not, because they're like super valid criticism to like blame the show, but it's like not that.
Well, I think we can quickly address some of the themes that were mentioned or brought up in the show.
Hold on. We cannot end this without well, not end it, but we cannot move on until we mention how Eren is left off at the end of episode 13.
Just like it in shackles.
Where he fucking belongs, because he's a self-righteous cunt.
Why is he self-righteous?
Because he can only see the world through what he wants it to be. Like, he wants to kill all Titans. Well, okay, that's great. Then what?
So, yes, what do you think about his self-declaration that he wants to kill all Titans?
I don't think he's going to do it.
Idiotic?
I think it's very naive. I think it's very it's very shonen.
So, a lot of people have, in comments in various forums, have made fun of Eren for being an idiot who wants to kill all the Titans. I find it very interesting because at the very beginning of the show, before the Titans come in, he wants to join the Survey Corps because he wants to see the outside world. And then after everyone dies, he's like, I want to kill the Titans. Which to me, I want to kill the Titans is a defense mechanism to deal with the trauma, which really translated is the same basic endeavor of seeing the outside world. So
I mean, it's sort of like, because honestly, it's saying I want to kill it's very childish of him, which makes sense because the experience of that as a child, you're supposed to find it sort of childish and sort of, I don't know if dumb, but that.
Immature.
Yeah, immature. Exactly.
Now, if the author actually addresses this, I think it would be good character building, which honestly he does somewhat address it already, because in episode 12 and 13, we have a dream sequence when Eren turns into a Titan and then goes berserk and attacks Mikasa and then slips into a dream where he's dreaming of his house and Armin is talking to him and Armin says, do you want to avenge your mother? And Eren says, no, she's right here next to me, which can be interpreted as, she's always in my heart. I don't need to do anything to nothing I do will actually bring her back. I still value her in my mind. And then he's unresponsive to Armin's reminder asking Eren, don't you want to kill all the Titans? And he's like, nah, I'm too tired. But when Armin says,
nah, bitch, let me sleep.
But when Armin says, do you want to see the outside world? That's when he wakes up and that's when he lifts up the boulder. So I think, to me, I interpret this as the author saying, I know this character is stupid. I wrote him this way. He has an actual legitimate motivation, but right now he's too stupid to realize that because of all the problems happening around him. I would love to see this address, him to grow out of this. I don't know if that's going to happen, considering this already has honestly, lot of things that need to be fixed. Sure. But I at least recognize that the author is knows that he's portraying Eren as an idiot.
Sure, but I mean, at the beginning of the show, before shit's going down, he's talking about the outside world, and to him, the outside world just means freedom. So basically, what Eren wants is freedom. Now, if when he goes back to like feeling content with no, my mom's here, I'm fine, I don't want to, it's like he doesn't want to like reawaken and actually pick up the boulder and do whatever. It's like that whole sequence, sort of the reaffirmation of him. Okay, I do want to like seek out this freedom and get there, right? It's more than just seeing the outside world and discovering its mysteries. Just like freedom. That's it.
Definitely. And freedom is obviously a very big recurring theme in this show.
Freaking wings of freedom on the Survey Corps folks,
The whole idea of fighting the Titans is to get freedom, as Aaron wants to do. I think... Oh, one more theme that's brought up is, like, the terror of the Titans. Like, they constantly say that the Titans inflict terror, and we see that actually happen when people, like, commit suicide and, like, desert the army. I think it's a really pretty realistic portrayal of terror. I think it's good, and I personally love the type of story that includes horrific elements.
That scene when like the guy just shoots himself in the head is horrific.
I was gonna say something about. I was gonna make a joke about that, but I really shouldn't.
Oh my god, that's
God
horrible! You're a horrible person.
No, but I do want to say like it is somewhat realistic to war. Like people react to war in very different ways, especially like soldiers in general will react to war in very different ways. Even though that most of them, hopefully, have been trained this exact same way, there's still different personalities, different psychologies that go into it, and some people have a much more shallow breaking point than others.
Definitely. Especially in medieval warfare, a lot of military people were lost due to desertion. So this is realistic to that situation that they're in.
And nowadays, in modern warfare, most soldiers actually lose their lives to suicide.
Mm-hmm. And this also ties into the whole fascist element to the setting because, fascism uses terror to control their citizens, which, I mean, that's what happens in real life. In the situation that Attack on Titan is, I mean, the fascist government isn't completely in control of the terror-inducing elements.
But they're using the terror of the Titans as the way to gain control.
Yeah, they're not really doing anything to assuage people's fear of the Titans.
I mean, it's not a perfect reflection of the fascist structure, but it's definitely somewhat there. So there's some interesting real life connections happening there.
Since I wasn't going to mention this, but I will anyway.
Oh God, maybe you shouldn't.
No, so I read.
Please
I
don't.
for the life of me, can't remember where I read this, but I read an article that someone wrote about comparing Attack on Titan to actual fascism that has happened in the real world. And someone tried. I don't really know how I feel about this connection that was made, but someone made that mentioned that you could make the connection between the actual government of the walled city in Attack on Titan to the government of Nazi Germany during World War II. And
I don't know about that.
I don't know as
but
well.
but the idea was that the Titans themselves represent Jews.
But the Jews weren't killing the Germans.
But that's what the Nazis told everyone was going to happen.
I mean, but in Attack on Titan, the government doesn't tell you. It happens in your face.
I'm just saying. I don't know how accurate.
Works.
I don't know how accurate that comparison is, but it is an interesting comparison.
I mean,
Sure.
I can understand why you would be led to that comparison, especially considering the German influence, even though Attack on Titan is not the only anime that has German influence. There's a lot of German influence in a lot of anime. I personally don't think that the Nazi
Because
Germany,
Japan was a German ally during World War II.
That's great. Relation to Attack on Titan is super accurate. I don't think so. But people have made that connection, and that's their prerogative. So I don't know if any of you want. Maybe we should end this with our final thoughts on episodes 1 to 13 of Attack on Titan. Let's start with you, Alex, because I'm sure you have a very strong opinion.
So, I want to point out, when I originally watched this back in 2013, I didn't watch it week to week while it was airing. I actually did watch it kind of how I'm watching it now, which is binge watching it. I did it, I think, a season or two after it had originally ended its run. So I didn't get caught up in the hype of the original airing. The only reason I did watch it was because it ended up being so popular that year. I'm trying to compare my thoughts now to what I thought back then. I think back then it was just something I was just completely uninterested in story-wise. Shut up. I'm just going through my slice of life phase. Shut the fuck up.
Oh, wow. You're fucking filthy weeb.
I still think that the music is absolutely excellent. Not just the soundtrack itself, but the OP and the ED are both pretty good.
That's as much as you'll get out of Alex.
Alex is like, I don't give a fuck.
It's okay.
I still have the same problem after the first 13 episodes that I can say that I had after the first 13 episodes the first time I watched, is that I don't care about any of these characters. The story has not made me give a damn about any of these characters.
I will say that
isn't the mystery and the story itself intriguing enough for you?
It's intriguing in the sense that I really want to find out if all of these people are just as dumb as they appear.
That's some type of mystery.
I mean, unless some mysteries start getting solved, then no, because I don't think a mystery should be dragged on that long.
Or at least investigated.
Yes. Or brought up.
Yeah, or addressed. I will agree with you, Alex, that I am disappointed in the character development. I mean, they could have... I mean, it's only the first 13 episodes, but...
Only. Most anime series are this long, and they have more character development than this.
I mean, depends on, like, your timeline of how long you want the plot to be. It's fine.
5 episodes. Just condense the entire story into 5 episodes. I'm good.
Detective Conan and progress in any shape or form in the 1000 episode he had... No, that's not the point.
I've never watched Detective Conan, so I can't tell you.
Me neither.
Oh my god. But, I mean...
Carry on.
Yeah, I would have liked more character development, but I'm perfectly fine considering... Well, now I know this is a very long-running show, but I'm perfectly fine with getting to, like, knowing that this is only introducing all these different characters, and clearly there are a lot of them, and apparently a lot of them are going to die, so... Yeah, maybe I don't want everything to be developed, because that'll be I guess a waste of time because they're all gonna die.
I think if I had to sum up my actual opinion of the first 13 episodes, I can tell you that the technical stuff I really am impressed with. The sound design, the OST, the animation is like 95% on point. There are some individual moments here and there where it gets kind of but in terms of the plot and the story and the characters, I just couldn't give two shits so far.
So, as many complaints as I have brought up...
It's a 10 out of 10!
My first impressions of Attack on Titan is that, I mean, the standout thing that I thought was, this is fucking epic. I love the art, animation, music, everything. Love the tension. Love the fight or die situations. I don't know who's going to live, who's going to die. Literally, when Eren died, I was convinced that Mikasa
Hold on, it died in giant quotation marks.
I was convinced that Mikasa was going to be the new main character. And I don't know how the plot's going to go. All I am really invested in right at this moment of finishing episode 13 is, will these people even live to see tomorrow? Because
Eren will.
They are, honestly, there's a lot of problems. I mean, there's a lot of plot things that have not been explained, but me as a viewer, I don't have time to think about it because these people are always being thrown into life or death situations, and the number one concern right now is staying alive not dealing with all these plot things. So I really enjoyed the fast-paced, quote-unquote fast-paced, plot-wise, not like actual pacing, nature of episodes 1 to 13 of Attack on Titan. Looking back on it, there's a lot of things that I can understand why Alex is unhappy with it, because if you're not into that kind of plot, you can get bogged down by all of the unexplained bullshit that is being thrown at you. But me personally, I was invested in the action. I'm loving this as an action show.
Needs more Sasha.
Yes. We need to put more things in Sasha's mouth.
Agreed.
What are your thoughts, Nitai?
It's alright.
It's alright. I'm heading out.
Okay.
No, but honestly, it's like, it's good. Pacing is good for the most part.
He's so salty that we've just been shitting on it all night.
No, I'm not salty. I'm being super serious right now. Like, it's good. I like the pacing so far. The cast is undercooked, and some of the individual shots are like pretty horrible in terms of the character designs. I'm being super honest to you right now. It's good. It's like it's fun. It's fast paced. I liked it. It's okay.
Okay. Well, that was our thoughts on episodes 1 to 13 of season 1 of Attack on Titan.
Chime in next week where we'll spend 30 minutes dissecting why the shoes are not tied correctly.
Girl, I was going
to plot point.
I was going to go into it, but we can save it for next time. Thank you all out there for dropping in to listen to us. We hope you enjoyed it, because we sure enjoyed bringing it to you. If you want to check out previous episodes of the podcast, you can find us on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify. If you want to keep up with what we're doing, you can join us on Discord, Facebook, Twitter, and our website. Shoot us an email if you have any questions, or if you have ideas for topics you'd like us to talk about in the future. Links to all these things are down below in the description. I have been your host, Sho, and I will see you next time. Say good night, everyone.
Hey, guys, can you take these shackles off now? I won't run away, I promise.
Oh, we haven't even talked about the BDSM relationship between Levi and Aaron. We will get to that.
No,
God, not this again.
We'll get to that.
Can I just say how much I hate Fujoshis? You ruin everything.
You're the biggest Fujoshi in the podcast.
Excuse me, Fudanshi.
Oh my god.